Welcome to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lelly, certified life coach, aspiring author, lover of people, mama in recovery, and student of life. Each week, I will bring you love, inspiration, the real life stuff people are afraid to talk about, and guests who are willing to shine their light for you. I give you self-care practices and mindset tips to help you shatter the negative stories you tell yourself. Now is the time to step into the beautiful, loved, whole woman you already are. Let's walk this journey together. Welcome back to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm your host, Katrina Lelly, and you guys are in for such a special episode today. I'm incredibly excited and grateful for this one. It took a lot of courage and vulnerability to open up as I sat down with my stepdaughter's mom, Steffeny Wallace Jacobs. Steffeny has two daughters, so she has Haley, who we share, and her other daughter, Kennedy, who is 10. She lives local to the area. She's a hardworking mom. She's done a lot of her own growth in her own way in the last couple of years, and it's really just been so beautiful to watch, just so amazing, and I'm so grateful that we have both come along this journey. And I will tell you that in the beginning, it wasn't pretty at all. And we will give you a little bit of an inside peek as to what that looked like and kind of like where we were at as a biological mom and as a stepmom, kind of different perspectives on that. And really, I just hope that you hear the hope as we grow alongside one another in a friendship of sorts for Haley and, being there and walking with Haley as she grows up into a young woman. But I am just incredibly grateful for this episode, and I really hope that you guys hear what you need to hear out of it. So thank you for tuning in. So, Steffeny, when we met 13 years ago, Haley was not even 9 months old when I first came into the picture and started dating Josh. And he was upfront with me. He told me right away that there was a possibility that he had a daughter, and he already knows this, but I told him when I seen the picture, I knew she was his right away. There was no way to deny it.
No.
So, kind of just like, as a mom who probably felt all alone back then, what was it like for you at that point in time in your life? You have this newborn. You were young. You were 19 when she was born, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were young. And here comes, you and Josh weren't together. And here comes another woman into the picture. So just kind of tell me where you were at or how you were feeling at that time.
It's hard. Like, so much of that I try to block out just because it was such a negative time. Like, I was 19 and just had a baby. I didn't have the best role model on how to co-parent. So it was, and then another woman just, hey, this is how it is. It's kind of, I don't know, it's just, you don't want to have another female raising your child, but, I mean, you have to, like, you don't get any choice in that. Like, Josh and I were only together for 5 months, and I got pregnant, and that was it. And then we were done, and there I am, pregnant, 18, 19, having a baby. And then just as fast as she was here, there was somebody else, and I don't know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to explain. Like, especially when the relationship between Josh and I was not good at all. And then he says, oh, this is my girlfriend, and this is how it's going to be, and I don't,
yeah.
It's hard to explain because you have to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can't imagine, because I was not in your shoes and have not been in your shoes, but coming in, one, being young and having a baby, whether dad is involved or not, is hard enough, I would think. And then not having the best relationship with Josh makes it that much harder. And then in comes me, who didn't know what in the world I was doing either. On one hand, I thought it was really fantastic because I loved kids and I loved babies. And I know that part of me now looking back was always thinking that a family would fix me and make me better. And that is not the case. That's kind of what my thinking was when I had my twins, thinking like, oh, if I get pregnant, then things will be better. I'll be better. And I remember just getting messages suddenly from your friend and asking, why are you putting this picture up of your, and it just kind of went from there. It escalated very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Into the good old MySpace. And I know on my side, I was kind of just like, what in the world is going on? Like, I'm such a good person. Why would they not like me? That was my thinking around it. I'm such a good person. I wouldn't do terrible things. And on the other side, I'm not,
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, what we saw of each other was pictures, was internet, was, like you said, MySpace. It's been that long.
Yeah.
That you don't get a good representation of a person through the internet or through text messaging or email or whatever. So that, I don't know. I was out, I don't know, maybe I don't know how to explain it. Was I out to fight? I don't know. Was I out to protect my daughter? Yeah. But then I also had my mom who, she was out to protect both of us because I was so young and I was living with them and they were helping. But I don't know what the agenda was with everything. Besides, it was just fight.
Yeah.
Like, it really was like survival of the fittest.
Yeah. And I think because we got into that so fast, like, there was no time to back out and actually see. Once you're in the middle of that, It's kind of like seeing red. Once you're mad and you're angry, it's kind of like seeing red. And there was a lot of red, and for a long time.
Yeah, I went into it, coming from when I was pregnant, I was already seeing red. So there was no time to step back and look and, really sort out my feelings for it. I just went into it just being mad and pissed off. It's scary is what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I was 19, I was having a baby, and I don't know what I thought, really. Like, it's not that I didn't think he would be around. I don't know, at 19, you just think everything's going to be just great, and, like, you see those teen mom shows, and that's how it turned out. Not good. In the beginning, at least. And then, it took a while, but court and all that, it got better.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually got better. I would think, I know for me, growing up, always thinking about, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to have a kid, I'm going to have a family. It's all going to be good. It's not the stuff, we never picture it to turn out the way that this situation turned out at all. And when we have those ideas in our head and then it doesn't turn out and it just, there's all these different components, me coming in. And for me, I was not healthy at that time. And I got more unhealthy as time went on. And so my part in it didn't get healthier either. It got worse. And then, trying to play the victim the entire time when there was more than one victim. And the only true victim in the whole situation was Haley. Yeah. And not being able to see that then, because for me, I just wanted people to like me. Nobody doesn't not like me. And I what did I do wrong? And, we eventually got through that and past that. But there were times for a very long time, I made it about me. And, it really wasn't. It was hard for me not to see that. And I had old wounds coming up because of my parents and the way I grew up too. And so I know that played in it too. But I, made it about me. And, there's Haley, and she's the one that is really the person who was most affected by it. Yeah. We all had hurt. But we were all most affected by it. I still think and I still laugh because a lot of years, and then eventually we both just disengaged and didn't talk to each other, and that was the best way that I know I could handle the situation, because anytime Josh and I would try to talk about things, and it never went well. We would always end up in an argument or a fight, and he didn't like any of it that was going on. He wanted me to stop and back out of it, and I needed to have my say, but I knew later down the road, after disengaging, like even then, we would run into each other or see each other, and my heart felt like it was going to pound out of my chest. Like I was having such anxiety and panic around it and shaking. There were a couple of times, Steffeny used to work at a dealership that I used to go to, and we'd walk out of there and I'd tell my boss, like, I think I'm going to faint. You know, I just seeing her I wouldn't say frighten me, but it almost felt like that. It wasn't anger. It was just like
we didn't know how to act.
Yeah,
we didn't know we did not know how to interact, and that was what, 6 years ago or so.
I think so. Yeah,
right around there. And still, even then, we didn't know how to act around each other. We didn't know how to We didn't know how to have a conversation. We didn't know We didn't have good communication. No.
And we tried. There were times we tried. We definitely tried to kind of get along, but I think there was still just too much. There was still too much hurt and anger and agendas going on behind the scenes. And, you know, both of us, like she shared about her mom, we both had people in our corner that kind of just egged stuff on and didn't help the situation either. I didn't grow up in a healthy co-parenting family either, so it was just like we were in territory that was very unknown. Yeah. And not healthy. Yeah. But so we're not going to go into a lot of details about it. It was not good, and I didn't realize how much it had affected Haley until about 2.5, 3 years ago, when things started to shift and things started to change. And you know, for me as a stepmom, I've just had a hard time, like, trying to find my way into where am I at in Haley's life? Who am I to her, and how do I show up for her? And, you know, after having my own kids, it kind of changed things a little bit. And Steffeny even told me this. She said something to me about, you know, you won't get it until you have your own kids. And then when I had my own kids, I'm like, oh, but I wasn't going to tell her that. No. Not until later. But, you know, so let's talk a little bit about it's been like 3 years now, I think. Maybe 2 years. I don't remember. But it's been a couple of years at least now since things started to slowly shift. Yeah. When, maybe even when Britt passed away is like just started, that might have been the slow, and your sister. Yeah. Yeah. That kind of just started to shift things and maybe put things in a little bit more perspective. But, you know, I don't know, what was it for you think?
I don't know. When I got divorced from Kennedy's dad, I always said I didn't want for her what Haley had or what I had growing up. So I always said that I would always get along with her dad and who he was with. And then I always told Haley, I go, I don't have to be best friends with your dad, and I don't have to be best friends with Katrina, and we don't have to have barbecues, we don't have to have birthdays together. But as long as you're happy, I don't have to do those things. If you want me to do those things, then I will. But of course she wouldn't ask. She's not going to say, yeah, I want that. She's never had that. I was just finally done with, like, the arguing and fighting and I'm better than you, you're better than me, I can do this better, you can do that better. It's just so much back and forth that I didn't have the energy for it anymore. Like, the fighting and arguing, bickering, I ran out. Like, what else is there to fight for? Like, we have a schedule, we have everything written out to what we can do. I mean, what's going to happen? Are we going to go back to court? I mean, it's like big deal at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's 13. We've been doing this for 13 years. So there's just nothing to fight about anymore. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And it affects her, and there's just no reason for it anymore.
Yeah. I would think and I would hope, and for anybody eventually who might be in a situation like that where, I mean, it was pretty bad. We've both been to court for one another. Stuff was said and done and written and all kinds of things, and there was no love whatsoever anywhere. And eventually you would hope that you get that chance where to kind of pull back, and it's like, okay, I'm tired, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And then the clouds start to clear a little bit, and then some perspective and maybe some growing up happens on people's ends. And, for me, I know it's me growing up. It's me, in the midst of a lot of that, I was drinking, and that did not help the situation at all. But even in sobriety, I was sober when I would show up to the dealership and be in panic attacks and, just going, oh my gosh, over Steffeny. And it took some time, but I think eventually you get to that point where I can't fight anymore. I can't do it. And since that's happened, it's been a slow progression, and just being able to conversate with one another and get along with one another. And I know that sometimes I have to catch myself because, and this is old stuff. This is that old fear of, oh, this is too good to be true. I think like, oh, I probably shouldn't text her this or ask her this.
And that's where I'm at still. Like, do I text? Haley's a woman. Put it that way. Dads don't want to know about those things.
Right.
So I told Haley, I go, I don't care. I just don't care. I'm texting Katrina, and that's how they're just going to say it. I don't care. Like, I don't want to talk to him about it just as much as he doesn't want to talk about it. So it is what it is. So there's that.
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, like after I told you, even after since you've had Caleb, that's when it really started like sinking in that we are getting along, things are going good. And I told you that I can tell a difference between you now versus back then. And now for me, looking back, I can tell that a lot of your actions were because you were drinking. And the woman that you've become it's totally different. And you were acting on all that you knew. You were coping, I guess you could say. Because you had the alcohol, you had all, and I think that's where a lot of it came from for you, is that.
Yeah.
And it's now that we're both clear-minded, I think we can see through that, and I can see that's what it was on your part. Not that you wanted to fight or you were just ready to go at it. Like, I think that's really what it was on your end, is because you couldn't think straight. Like, you couldn't, I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah,
it's fight or flight.
Yeah, it is, and I understand what you're saying, and like, it means so much to me to hear you say that, and which I never thought I would be grateful to hear something like that come out of your mouth, because, in the past it would be like, I don't care, that, but it means so much, one, that you recognize it, not to excuse it, but there is a different respect there. There's a different common ground there. And I've even told Josh this, because when this started to get better, that text about Haley and being a woman and all of that, like, Josh has, like, this is just weird. He's waited for the other foot to drop, mm-hmm. or the other shoe to drop. And I said, no, there's something different. I can tell. So you've had your own growth. You've had your own clarity come up.
I've had to grow up a lot in the last couple of years. Like, I was married, I got divorced, and then I was on my own. I didn't have anybody there sticking up for me and fighting my fights. I had to do it on my own. I had to get a job. I had to be a big girl.
Welcome to the real world, right? Both of us so we both have just done a lot of our own growing up, and with that, and now there's still some of that, well, do I say this to her? And my worry is because I don't want to be too much. I don't want to overstep. And there is still, no matter how good this relationship is, there's still a boundary of Josh is Haley's dad and Steffeny is Haley's mom. And, coming in and finding, okay, where am I in that? I need to respect them as the parents because ultimately they are decision. I mean, Josh and I are pretty on partnership about everything, but there's still that, like, I don't know that there will ever not be a little bit of something because
there's always going to be some kind of fear.
Yeah.
Because of just the dynamic. There's always going to be some kind of fear. Like, I don't fear that there's going to be court battles. It's just, am I stepping on your toes? Because it's your house, it's your husband, she's your stepdaughter, but you guys have your house. Like, your rule's your house, my rule's my house. So there's fears on my side too.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think it's always going to be there no matter what. But what I really just want for people to be able to hear and understand is, no matter the situation that may be going on, I have to call BS on any blended family situation that says everything is hunky-dory. It's just beautiful and fine. I don't take that to heart. That's just me. If that's your story, fantastic. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. But there's always going to be something because the step parent kind of is a third person. They are a third person in that, and they're still mom and dad. It's a dynamic that you have that takes work, just like any relationship, and it's different. And coming in, Haley is my stepdaughter, and how our relationship has some growing to do. How do you work with that? Because I don't want to make her feel, I don't ever want to make her feel like she is not a part of this family, because she is absolutely a part of this family. And, so I have to watch myself. Like, I want to make sure all the kids, they're all my kids, they're all inclusive. And, I don't know, because Haley doesn't talk a lot. So it's something that's big in the back of my mind, but to have a conversation with her, but then not to go too far, to put too much on a 13-year-old's shoulders, because I've been there in that type of situation, and she's a 13-year-old. She's got enough going on at the moment and to deal with. No matter if you're in a situation that seems there is no hope at the end of the light, at the end of the tunnel, I understand, and Steffeny understands. Where we were at, nobody probably would have thought that we could come to a place of mutual understanding. Or, Steffeny came up to the hospital when Caleb was born.
That was weird.
Sat in the hospital. I let her hold, Caleb, and not that long ago, I would have said, oh, hell no, she ain't touching my kid, and there just would have been this stuff, and it doesn't have to be that way anymore, and it's so nice. And I don't know if you've seen, I think you've mentioned but there has been such a transformation in Haley.
Oh yeah, not that she tried to hide anything, but she's more open, maybe is the word, I don't know. I don't think she's scared, like, to talk about your guys' house versus my house, or being a big sister and having a little baby brother. Like, it's totally different between Tristan, Cassidy, and Kennedy versus Caleb. He's a cute little baby. And
yeah, that excitement.
Yeah, and I don't think she's scared to talk about those things. Like, she's already trying to figure out what she's going to get them for Christmas, and she sees things in the store, like, can we get this? I'm like, yeah, let's wait till payday, and then we'll come back and get it. And she's comfortable asking those things now.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for her.
That's, and I love to hear that. And because I'm sure there was a lot of compartmentalizing that had to go on. And, oh, I can't say this. I can't say that. You know, don't talk about this or that. And on that aspect, you know, I understand. I felt that way when I was a kid too. And, you know, don't talk about this to dad or to mom, you know, don't, you know, all that kind of thing. But, you know, she's the one that's the most important here in this situation. And to know that we can actually have a conversation, do this freaking podcast together, like, is just makes me so happy. And I'm just so grateful that this isn't something we have to carry on, because, you know, eventually there's going to be a graduation and weddings and grandkids and all of the stuff, and
getting our driver's license.
Yes, getting our driver's license. And, you know, we are breaking a huge chain that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And that is such a huge deal. That's something Haley doesn't have to carry on and pass on to her future.
Yeah, she can see that it is possible. Like, not that she's going to have kids until she's 50, but...
Yeah, exactly.
She knows that it's possible. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so, is there anything else you want to share? Any tips, or don't do this, or don't make sure you do this?
I mean, I can give you a whole laundry list of things from MySpace all the way to now that don't do. But just be open-minded. Like, if you're so closed off like we were in our own little world. We had our own little clique, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, but I had my mom and dad and sister, and you had Josh and your mom. So it's just open up the communications.
Yeah. And if you're in that spot of this arguing and fighting and you're claiming it's for the kids, it's not.
Mm-mm.
It's all about you. And not saying that it's easy at all, but when you have kids, you kind of sign up that if this were to happen, and, you know, it happens, that's just the reality of today, that, you know, their well-being is put first. You have to do that. And, you know, you make it all about you when you're involved in that fighting and arguing. And just, you know, get outside help if you need to. Step back, step away from the people who may be helping fuel that fire too.
Yes, that.
And step back from that. So, but I just want to tell you thank you so much. And I appreciate you sitting down and doing this with me. And I'm hoping that, you know, somebody gets something out of it, and that they can take a little piece away and either share it in their own life or with a friend that may be going through something. But I just am really grateful that we're in this space, and, you know, I can talk to you, you can talk to me, and it's not too awkward anymore.
I mean, I think there's always going to be that hesitation, but
yeah,
I mean, I think coming from me, I just don't want to bother you, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it makes total sense.
I don't know. I don't want to bother you.
No, I totally get that. I totally understand. So, if you guys really enjoyed this episode, please make sure you go and share it with your family and friends. Leave me a 5-star review on iTunes, and we cannot wait to be back for our next one.